Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to continue looking at the match between Charlie and Joshua. We're going to look at games 2 and 3. If you want to look at game 1, you can find it in my last video. So let's take a look. So if you remember, Charlie lost the first game. So this was his chance to try to make a comeback. Again, the time control is 3 minutes. So we do not expect perfect chess to be played. But let's see what happened. Uh, the game begins d4, d5, c4. We have the queen's gambit. Joshua plays the Slav defense. Charlie plays knight c3, which is one of the main moves. Knight f6. Bishop g5 is fine. It doesn't pin the knight, so sometimes white likes playing a move like knight f3 instead. But this is okay. Nothing wrong with this. Okay. Joshua builds a very solid setup. Um, um, the triangle setup, which might become the same as Slav. Okay, knight f3. Bishop e7, and we don't quite have the semi-Slav. We have this interesting hybrid where white is doing okay, and black played c6, which is okay. Black is very solid, just very, very, very passive. Um, and Charlie takes, which is absolutely fine. And now we have an interesting position where Joshua has two bishops. Uh, The position is close, so what Joshua would like to do is to try to open the position at some point by playing something like c5. White has more space, so this is an okay move. Let's see what Charlie's plan was. That was Charlie's plan. So e3 is better because black has two bishops, and so white does not want the position to open up. After this trade, life for black becomes a lot easier. But Joshua castles, which is okay, but yeah, castling is fine because either after pushing right away, the position can open up at some point, or after takes, then push, again, the position will open up. Okay, Charlie plays a very reasonable move. He gets a bishop out, he gets ready to castle, he supports his pawn. Joshua takes, and that's a useful thing to remember. In the Queen's Gambit games, a lot of the time you wait for this bishop to move, and only then you take, because then this bishop ends up spending two moves to get to the square. So Joshua wins in tempo by doing this. Charlie takes back, he has a nice center, but at some point black can break it up. This I like a little bit less. I understand the point, and I'm guessing Joshua wants to play here and something like this. I think it's still okay. And now Joshua can take the pawn because white does not have his discovery. If you imagine this pawn not being here, if black takes, white takes, black takes, white has this discovery, but in this case he does not, so this is just a free pawn. I think Charlie was playing maybe a little bit too fast in this one. And Joshua takes, yeah, he's just up a pawn. Charlie plays a reasonable move, improves the queen, he has some ideas here. He also has an idea of bringing the rook into the world. Joshua preempts any sort of an attack on this pawn. And Charlie plays e5. I don't think e5 is a bad move, but I think white needs to get the rook in and castle and try to take advantage of his hidden development. This is okay. Joshua trades because he's up, so he's trying to simplify. Although he just traded his pretty good bishop. Um, one of the points was that maybe Charlie was going to use this knight and get it all the way in here. So Joshua decides to trade it before it has a chance. And Charlie takes with a pawn. He probably still has a dream of doing something over here, but his pawns are now split. These are not the greatest pawns in the world. Okay, I don't quite understand that move. I don't think it's terrible. I'm guessing it deals with rook d1, bishop h7, but there is no need to make the king worse. So it's not a terrible move, but black should start to develop at some point. And Charlie plays very understandably. He's down a pawn, and he says, I need to try to create something, because if I don't, black will just trade and I will lose. And this is an important idea. If you're losing, if you're down, you want to play, a lot of the time you want to play aggressively. You want to make the position complicated. You want to create a sort of position where your opponent can mess these things up. Huh. And now Charlie might get that exact type of a position because this is about to open up. Charlie takes. Joshua takes with the queen. The downside for the white king is he does not quite have safety anywhere. And I think this is just a blunder. I think black can take. How much time was spent? Very little time, it seems. Yeah, Charlie spent half a second on that move. So a very interesting game very sadly comes to an end very, very quickly because of an unfortunate mistake. And this is the problem again. I can't criticize people. 3-minute games inevitably will result in blunders. But this was going to become very interesting if g4 was not played. After g4, of course, it's essentially game over. So Joshua takes a command and lead to 0. And let's look at game 3 and see what happened there. Let's see. Okay. Okay, in game 3, Joshua was white again. He was up to 0, and this was a chance for Charlie to turn this around. So e4 d5. Charlie plays the Scandinavian defense, which I did not know he plays. Takes. Now black has a choice. He can take with the queen, or he can do this. Yeah. And white doesn't really want to play c4. It's playable, but it doesn't really keep... Well, it tries to keep the pawn, but black gets a lot of plays. So the best way for white to play is d4, let black take, and then play c4. Which is what Joshua does. And this is a little crazy. This is a good bullet opening for the... I guess for a 3-minute game it's not bad, but on the highest level it's just not very good. Black gets active pieces, but he does not quite get enough compensation here. Joshua takes as he should. Charlie takes back. And the argument black makes is he has 2 active pieces. White has no pieces out yet, but white is up a very, very healthy pawn. So Joshua plays c4, which seems to make sense. Something like knight c3, something like d5 is about to happen. c6, Charlie takes control with this square, but sometimes the knight wants this square, so Joshua is doing quite well. He develops the knight. Charlie pins this knight. And this is a bit inaccurate because I think, yeah, this is an example of Joshua playing too fast. He responds to this, but he kind of forgets that this pawn is here. And black can just pick it up, which does not happen. This is an okay move, but I believe this was more than okay. Okay. Joshua tries to simplify his upper pawn. Charlie says no. And the bishop drops here, where he will make a lot of sense, especially if white castles. c5. c5 is good, but it also has issues. It does take control with this square. If white is successful, able to put something there, that's really good. But the problem is it gives up control over z5. And so black can put things there. Also, notice white has an advantage on this side of the board. White has 4 pawns, black has 3. It's going to be quite a bit harder for white to push his pawns to make progress, and also this pawn becomes a little bit weak. So I'm not a big fan of c5. Charlie castles, which makes sense. Joshua develops. Rook here, okay. The king needs to get out, so bishop e2 probably must be played. Bishop e3 is okay, but white is being driven to defend. And knight g4. Good move by Charlie. The next knight might be able to come in here. This knight might be able to take. Joshua is developing. Makes sense. Charlie takes right away. Obviously takes back. And now this is an issue. Because now this is attacked. And it's not so easy to defend. For example, if the queen defends, black can start putting more pressure. Something like this could happen. White can try to defend with the queen and the knight, maybe. That could be a possible way to play. But Joshua simply gives up that pawn, and I think black is now better. Yeah. And the reason black is better, if you look at material is even, but black pieces are more active. White has a weak pawn over here, and black has control over this square. That's kind of important. This looks like a relatively reasonable move by Joshua. He attacks the rook. He also gets ready to bring the rook into the game. Very nice move by Charlie defending. But also now he can bring the rook. Well, the interesting thing that I'm wondering is if white can play 95. And the logic behind 95 is that rook and this queen are separated from one another. But I guess black can take with the bishop. And the logic is if white takes, black can take here with a discovery. And then king here. And this is complicated. Maybe this does exist. Bishop e4. No, bishop e4 is just no. I think Joshua just made a mistake and miscounted. This is just double attack. Okay, and of course it gets taken. It takes, and yeah, white is not completely lost yet, but black has 2 bishops for rook, and this pawn is still weak. I mean, yeah, there is something here, but might be enough. Let's see. So, if the rook takes, I suspect probably this knight will just get attacked. That I mean, I understand why Joshua is trying to get the queen over here and put more pressure. and he's trying to get rid of his weak pawn. But yeah, but okay, he can still take this pawn. This confuses me. I mean, it's still not terrible because my thinks he will have a nice pawn here, but I don't think this pawn will survive because there will come and just this pawn will get picked up. Okay, but now this is getting crazy because Charlie moves the knight. He's still attacking this, but White can throw this in first. No, this is a mistake. This is a mistake by Joshua because this is happening. Black can now just take for free, which is what happened, and this should be game over. But once again, the thing that I want to point your attention to, when you're playing 3-minute games, you have to play fast, but you don't need to play insanely fast. So if you're in a complicated position and you still have plenty of time left, sometimes spend an extra couple of seconds could be beneficial. Yeah, but this is just all over now. Might at least should have maybe grabbed another pawn. This was not a threat yet. But now Black should get one more pawn and... Okay, Might just resigned. Yeah, Black is completely winning here. So Charlie turns this around. Both of the games we looked at today had some interesting ideas. One of the lessons as you are starting to play chess more and more is the question of time management. And sometimes you will get into complicated positions, and sometimes you will need to spend quite a bit of time to get yourself out. Again, in a 3-minute game, you can spend 3 minutes, obviously, but sometimes it might make sense to spend 20 seconds, maybe even 30 seconds on one move to resolve the situation instead of just trying to play fast. Because both of the games we looked at today were kind of decided by blunders. And we dealt with two people who are quite good. If you look at their ratings. So, okay. After 3 games, Charlie was able to turn this around. He's still down to 1. Come back tomorrow for more updates on what happened in this match. Thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe.